I'm Kate Angus. I'm one of the editors at Augury Books. We want to thank you so much for coming tonight and welcome you here. We want to thank Carolyn also so much for giving us this space this evening. We are so grateful. And it is absolutely my pleasure and my honor to introduce someone I'm sure you already know quite well, Randall Horton, and to say thank you for joining us as we launch his gorgeous book this evening. Randall?
How's everybody doing? Yeah. Here we are. Here we go. As they say, put your chin strap on. So definitely want to thank Carolyn, African Voices, for providing the space, beautiful space. She definitely has some information about the African Voices journal subscription, so you definitely want to check that out. And you know, because she definitely donated the space, so please, you know, give African Voices a look, and thank you for the space. I guess to Augury Books, I want to say a special thank you to my editors, Kate, Angus, and Kimberly Steele. If we made it, we did. So thank you. I was very appreciative of the editorial process as an editor myself. Of course, I want to be in control of everything. I'm just saying, you know, but, you know, if I was going to entrust anything with anybody, it would be them because they did a really great job. And you know, early on, I realized I'm going to take the hands off and let them do this. They did a great job, so thank you. All right, so we're going to get started. I've invited a couple of readers to come up and read a piece, and we have a very special guest that's going to end with that, Henry Jones. And so I guess I'll do it in terms of youth and rank and I just go by because I feel like most of these people are personal. So the people that I ask, you know, I kind of know. So in closely, a young man that I met almost maybe a year and a half ago now, and I was really impressed by his work ethic, but most of all, his just fervor for that. You know, you remember that place when you was fresh in poetry and like everything was real, and it was just that moment, man. He reminds me of that so much, and so I love to be around him because he gives me that energy. And his mom is cool too. So I've invited him up to read a piece to start us off.
Thank you very much for inviting me to read a piece. Really excited.
You gotta watch that. It's not.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, let it go like that, because no more.
There we go.
Someone wants to know your name.
Yes, Nkosi Nkululeko. Thank you, Randall, for inviting me. I'm excited to read the book and in this journey to figure out how to escape the prison that this world, country, and even ourselves put upon ourselves. So thank you for that. And here's the poem.
Somebody need to hear that piece.
All right, here we go. Behind the glass window. I'm old enough to know that I'm too young to grow old in this unfortunate young country. Yes, I've made it this far, but how much further before my shadow neglects me for another body to follow when I'm gone? On the corner of 155th Street and 8th, a mother carries a child from a store, the boy in her arms now flailing as if to want to dive in the air beneath him. But he is too young and therefore reckless with himself. The mother smacks him, and this is a kind of violence that at least prolongs a death that he will one day succumb to. Black and alive are not always synonyms here, but when the young sees how easily their beloved can undo them, they gaze at a baton hitched to the hip of an officer, occupationally ruthless and totally not related by blood, and the boy figures that besides the backhand, there are more advanced methods of dominance, some that do not believe in a religion of mercy. Act right, or you'll be dead or in jail, but yet he is both, and is with the mother as she says this cruel and crucial kind of wisdom, while a cigarette is being slipped between her ashen mouth, proving to be a necessary joy, although it deprives her lungs of it. And the boy is now imprisoned in the smoke, contained beneath the arm, enraptured in what teaches the boy of how the body is confined when it vanishes behind the smog, and gun smoke looks so similar to this. Now, I don't wish to die in a way of an anonymous fading, so according to statistics, my best bet is prison, where the little boy will surely go to visit his father, or perhaps his father's father, behind a glass window, as if to be the frame of a photograph of two men who will soon decease, even behind the bars that we think will save us from this terrible death that awaits us outside of these walls. So forgive me for being such a poet, but I have to divert our attention to the lily pads and roses and a cozy garden in Harlem. Let's let go of the trauma, if only for a moment, and gaze at this world, perked up and alive unlike us, beneath the sun, daring to grow beyond the legal age of 25, when most of us become candles, bouquets, and wine bottles, the simple rituals of which the dead are at least rewarded. Look at the bees, swarming the petals in a beautiful summer day, the moon tipping through the thin, dark veiling of sky, putting the boys that are too young to die to rest. Look at the gardener, closing the gate to the small world of a garden, and see the tapered and arranged leaves and floral kingdoms. Witness, when the gates close, how much like the imprisoned even they become.
There you go. Start this thing off right, as they say. Are you ready? Nah. You ready? Okay, and so my next reader is Tayumba Jess, and I've been knowing Jess for a while. We got the same mentor in Sterling Plump, and so early on, Sterling was like, no, you gotta get to Tayumba, man. And we've been cool ever since. It really means a lot for me to be able to ask him to read. I'm thanking for coming because we've been through a lot, and he's been a good friend too. He's a wonderful poet, and I'm asking him to come up right now. Come on,
Yeah, I've been hearing these stories from this book for a minute now. I'm like, really? That happened? Oh man. So it's good to have the book in my hands finally and be able to see these incredible life stories that Randall has. This cat, man, this is one of the most hustling cats. Seriously. I know it's like, oh yeah, I'm publishing this here, I'm running this press there, I'm going to this event here, blah, blah. I mean, I have a lot of admiration for Randall because the dude is like doing so much and lifting so many lives at the same time. So I'm gonna get into it here and not take a lot of time. So this is, excuse the phone, but this is it's about my name, which I was not born with, and you ever put a word in the in that little thingamajigger in the internet, and it rearranges the letters and spell something else? Well, this is kind of about that. It's pronounced Tayumba. Thank you. I took it from an African name book, bought from a black bookstore, translated from Tiv people, underscored and pen marked. It climbed out from the body of the book like a glistening dare. We stand as a nation. I claimed testament to the world I wanted to create in a foreign language from a nation I'd never visited, whose kin shipped across the Atlantic in my blood before it was my blood, and awaited me in Chicago, peering out from the black ink, staring me down, rolling consonants between my teeth and tonsils, swallowing my father's name, trying to spit out all my American history like rotted meat. I sheltered my renegade name beneath my mouth's roof. I turned my back on my slaver's surname whip of Goodwin, my Catholic Stephen. I chopped off my father's, sorry. I chopped off my father's and grandfather's E, and I salvaged the jest. I am all that is left, strung between two tongues, Bible and buried past. I've carried the name like a brand I sear into the air. It has followed me from town to town, woman to woman, love to love, job to job, poem to poem, bar to bar, failure to failure, luck to luck. I've been arrested with it, acquitted with it, praised with it, and dogged by it. I've tailor-made this name that I've never fully lived up to. I've wallowed in its syllables, smeared myself in all its inky glory. All its bookstore history comes bowed up in my personal act of erasure, and I have been taught how one tongue can slide into another and kiss open a new language. How history can jumble in the mouth until a jubilee of sound rearranges its meaning. Until I look back at the letters in my African name book and shift the ink of my name's definition by one small letter to fill in the lesson I know now. We stand as a notion, an idea, like Taimba dancing through the internet's anagram creator to come up with only one viable sentence, one peppered with the patchwork grammar of my nation, who may or may not be Tiv, whose history is mostly lost to history, to say the most important lesson I've gotten from the history of my name. I be a myth.
Go.
Hey.
So, as we move right along, Sally. Interesting. These next two were people I'm going to call up. Actually, I met them at the same time, but I'll get into that later. So, I met Sally at Provincetown, and we've been friends for a long time. A long time. Yeah. She knows me. She knows my struggles very well, and she's been a great friend. And I know her commitment to not only poetry and language, but also incarceration, dealing with those issues. And so she's always been a sounding board, and I've always been appreciative of her. So it definitely means a lot for her to come up here and read. So just come up to see.
Touching this thing, okay?
Okay. Sorry, yeah.
I know, I'm short.
That's okay.
I'm glad I wore heels. AM 6504. This poem is dedicated to the women in the waiting room at the State Correctional Institution, Graterford, Pennsylvania. AM 6504. I take a numbered metal tag from a stack. Wait for your name to be called, searched for contraband, gum, Kleenex, breath mints, my hand stamped for entry, the number and time of arrival printed on your permission slip to the visitor's room. In front of a backdrop, palm trees, surf, corrugated sand, your right hand around my waist, my hands clasp your left hand. The photographer says, relax, smile. We buy coffee, chips, and chicken wings from the automat. The tokens imprinted, today is my lucky day. You balance the tray on your knees, share the food. Enough, babe? Opposite, a woman is stroking her husband's crotch, a toddler asleep in his arms. I hear the honk of Canada geese on their way south, then north, south. After next month, you tell me, only 25 more weeks. Please, don't cry this time, you ask. I marvel that no matter how many times you hear the geese, not see the curve of wings or imprint of their V in the sky, you still care they come back and still wait for the sound. I think of you in your cell, turning the calendar given to you by the Salvation Army, checking the sky each day for the language of clouds. I have also been waiting for this book, and I think there's a big build up here, and we want to hear you read from the book.
Oh, we will.
Okay, Sally. Okay,
Soon as we have to bring Miss Hetty Jones up here. I mean, you know, we just have to.
Okay.
I don't know what else to say, but we have to.
Okay.
And so I want to definitely thank you, Hetty, for me to come and sit down and read. So I met Hetty a few years ago, and every time I meet her, it's always like, I want that energy, man. You know? I mean, you're like, really? But you're doing well. So thank you so much. And Hetty's going to come up and read a couple of poems, and then we'll get into the main thing. So thank you, Miss Hetty.
Oh, sure. Now,
Run.
I'm gonna no, oh really? Sorry, everybody. Oh, that's okay. Hey, you did it. You know, I have a big voice. You can hear me without it. One of the reasons I'm here is that when I first met Randall, I think we were doing something for the prison writing committee.
Yeah.
And I guess I am the former chair of the prison writing committee, and prior to that, I worked at Bedford Hills for a dozen years. But I don't know, you know, everybody asks me, well, why did you start to do that? You know, weren't you scared, right? Weren't you? No. I actually started at Sing Sing, and people said, ooh, weren't you worried? No. Anyway, I think this kind of explains why I do everything I do. It's called Genuflection to the God of Lost Gloves. Dear God, I'm truly grateful for my small red car, my 30-year-old washing machine, and my kitchen table's extra leaf. As for the rest, like the leather glove lost among the literati, may it serve to remind that only in giving have I ever found a future to transfigure the flesh I can never fathom. Here I try to say with my hands full, take that I may be revealed. Oh, God of lost gloves, I'm on my knees, and here is my bare hand. I got these carefully numbered. You know, when you do this all the time, you don't want to stand up and look foolish. Okay. Anyway, I didn't manage to say thank you for inviting me, and I'm very delighted that you've got a book out. Everybody should have a book out. No, I teach writing in a lot of different places, and lately I've been teaching at the Lower East Side Girls Club. I actually got a grant to do that. And I teach women from housing projects and everything. And everybody has a story, and they should tell it. And then maybe we'll learn everything. This is about what it's like to walk into a prison. The semi-permanent gate list. The semi-permanent gate list is dog-eared in a loose-leaf binder. Semi hardly describes it. You could be disappeared in an instant. Ah, bye-bye, page 25, miscellaneous. Unlike the list, the gates themselves are fixed as if forever, as they finger you. The intimidation gate sniffs your dirty hanky. The keep 'em guessing gate stamps your hand infrared 1 week, right, left, or right the next. And behind the fear gate's razor wire grin are the steel-barred business gates and keys in the hands of those who get paid to know you as a piece of paper blowing up a long, empty hill. Yeah. That's what it's like. This I wrote for the women at Bedford Hills. It's called, whom I got to know very well, as you can imagine, working there for 12 years. Mother Moon. Mother Moon surfs the sky, rides the white-capped clouds. Mother Moon is a visitor over the Bedford Hills Penitentiary. Climbing the barbed wire, the old brick, the young woman wondering whether she'll bleed to death. Mother Moon is like me. She knows when to say correctional facility. Mother Moon over the parking lot, diving into the potholes on the highway. Mother Moon is bringing in the harvest. You know she grows cocaine. Mother Moon, she's bad sometimes. She's big. She turns the tide in every double X chromosome. Blood is only one part. We are way past what they say defines us. We renew. Mother Moon rides high. We too, we change. Wait. Who comes next? The poem I'm going to read next is from a book that I published from there called Aliens at the Border. And that is the title of a poem by one of the women. Her name is Joy Wosu. And, you know, without any kind of stimulation, I sometimes brought photographs from a newspaper. And this was quite some time ago. It was Mexican people trying to enter the United States who were caught. Aliens at the border. It's so apropos today. Swimming upstream in mud from a distance, they remembered and thought deep in their hearts that they would not be tired in a life race for survival. Again, they remembered and thought deep in their hearts that this life race for survival would not weaken their strength or souls. Forced to gang up in single file, not by choice, but by choice of a loaded, no-heart machine targeted at them by a consciously blind man, his eyes undercover behind dark glasses. Walking upstream in muddy shoes, shading their eyes with their hands, their 5 faces seem to be searching under their feet for their lost land, many miles away, forgotten by choice. Again, they remembered and thought deep in their hearts that this life race for survival would not weaken their strength or souls. The ghostly, lonely road with its dried, dead shrubs, weeds, even stones seem to be singing the tune. This life race for survival will not weaken your strength or soul. Don't forget that was written by somebody who never wrote before. So anybody can try. This is a little one. I sometimes went across the street from Bedford to the medium security. This is called At Writing at Taconic Correctional. Dilapidated trailer, fluorescent hum, our breath over the light's own. On the fake wood wall, an elephant gazes from a sun-drenched haven. To hear, no haven, no heaven. Nevertheless, this moment, writing, the place that's always home. My students at Bedford used to say, oh, when you come and we write, it's like getting out of prison. You know, that's the way they thought about it. Sweet. Let's see what we got. Oops. Sorry. I think I've said enough, so I'll end. How about that? You know, the response to the French, the explosions in France, and the actions and everything has been so extreme that I think people think they'll never recover. But it was just like when 9/11 happened, we were told by Giuliani, we were told anyway to go out to dinner and say we will not be defeated by this act. And so we did. It was the same thing. It reminded me of this poem. This is called Dust, a survival kit, 9/11 to 10/11, 2001. 9:25. 2 weeks breathing the dead, each breath marking each stunning absence, ourselves as coffin, winding sheet, urn, worm. But oh, of what is God made? 10:2. We lived among blossoming words until some of them exploded like one human exploding another. Say human again. Try to feel the word on your lips. 10:11. The dead have dispersed. It has rained on them twice. They have drifted to sea, ascended in mist. Breathe them once again and begin. Thank you.
Well, all right. Here we go. So, like I said, there's another person that met in Provincetown in this workshop I did years ago, maybe 10 years ago now. Roughly, yeah. And the one person that always keeps me trying to follow in her footsteps, you know, so that's why I love her, because it's always like when I'm doing something like, yeah, I'm doing this, so okay, the bar is always raised every time. You know, seriously. And so you need those kind of people in your life, but also a truly warm human spirit. You know, and so when we got to talking about who's going to introduce me, it was a no-brainer, right? Come on, Becky. Becky Thompson.
How's everybody doing? This place is packed. You can settle in because I'm going to take a bit. Randall Horton is the recipient of the Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Award, the B. Gonzalez Poetry Award, and the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship in Literature. His previous works include the poetry collection Pitch Dark Anarchy, the Lingua Franca of 9th Street, Definition of Place, and the co-edited volume Fingernails Across a Chalkboard. Horton serves on the board of directors for the Penn Prison Writing Program and is the associate professor of English at the University of New Haven. As far as we can tell, Randall is among a handful of formerly incarcerated people in the whole country who's now a tenured professor. We counted together that would be Angela Davis and Randall Horton. He is a Carnegie Conham Fellow and a member of both the Afro-Latin Poets and the experimental performance group Heroes Are Gang Leaders. Horton is also a senior editor at Willow Books, an independent literary press he helped to found in 2006. Originally from Birmingham, Alabama, he now resides in New York City. This is all true. And to be celebrated. But how most most of us know him is as a lover of hats.
Yes.
In many places, he and I have traveled together. Chicago, New York, Boston, D.C., Colorado, Provincetown. We are always looking for hats. A symbol of his love and his work in the world. As a son, a brother, an editor, a professor, a poet, an essayist, a spoken word musician, a founder of presses, a driver of boats, and not the legal kind of boats. And did I mention a friend? And now we can add memoirist to these accomplishments. He who looks for balance in the oddity. He who urges us to be this age's Harriets, to create renegade language, to rescue us from language's bondage. For as Martina Spada has taught us, the more horrific an event, the more beautiful the language must be, so we can take it in, so we can keep our hearts open. In Hook, Linda, who provides the absolute cornerstone of the whole memoir, tells Randall, "You carry a dead weight on your shoulders, a lead chain in your walk." With this memoir, we get to see the unwinding of his shoulders, the lift in his gait, as he writes, "I learned early on, I gotta be gentle with this thing," as he discovers with all things. Late in the memoir, Randall writes, "There is something meditative about the movement of liquid. Linda and Randall's dialogue is that liquid. I am happy to call Randall my friend, one of the most generous, self-reflexive, and creative people I have ever met. Tonight, we are in for a celebration, a dancing of the lights. Please help me in welcoming Randall."
Awesome.
Thank you, my people. And so I gotta, before I even begin, I want to definitely, pick up where she left off with Linda Perez. You have to understand that this memoir is not possible without her living her words and her gut to help shape this project. We've been knowing each other for a while. And, our lives intersect so much in that other life, right? And when she found herself incarcerated, we had these letters that go back and forth. And it became a way for me to figure out some things, her to figure out some things. And it was just, me trying to give back something to someone that I know that was in the situation that I was in at one time. And if you've been in that situation, then you know. If you have never been in that situation, you might not, right? But if you've been there, you know that you need people on the outside. And so, Hook is definitely a project that I've been working long and hard for, but I definitely don't want you to leave here understanding that Linda Perez's voice has shaped this project. So thank you, Linda. Stand up, please. Stand up and read a little bit, so I'm gonna come up, and Linda come up, and we'll do what we do. When, all right?
Yeah.
Good. Amanda, you messed me up for real. I'm just gonna get the sidebar. We gotta talk later. But I see you for real. I see your trip. Journal note to self. Dear reader, follow the North Star. Erratic remnants of starlight singe unified rooftops within a 5-block radius. Adjusting our lens further down into the scope of an urban city, outlines of humans mechanized by societal structures disappear into a hole in the ground and are erased. Calibrating the audio reveals decompressing diesel brakes trudging the upper west side, car engines idling, Even La Pepito selling the Times across from the bodega. Location only matters because of conditions that create locations. We discourse in dualism, operating under the assumption conditions run parallel, that space interrelates through distant memory. Langston and Gwendolyn, Neruda and Morejon, hear the echo on the overground railroad, part metaphor, part homage to Harriet, who would have freed more if they'd have known they were in bondage. Perhaps we can be new millennium Harrys, create renegade languages, rescuing status quo from language bondage, as in them shouting and don't even know it. Traveling through black spat night, snaking around corners until new corners, refusing a final destination. Tenements seep through this train synthetic glass plane. 125th Street in block lettering. America peers over the left breastplate of a man in solid blue dress. Uniformity along the aisles. Everybody facing north as if something unknown awaits. Amazing grace. The homeless man in the corner with his hand cupped with changed belts. How sweet the sound. No one hears, only the drone.
Dear Randall, there are certain situations about the past and family that are hard to discuss. For years I've been trying to forget, but as you say, one cannot shake the past. It will affect you, haunt you. My childhood was not bad. I'm the youngest of 4 children and my dad's only biological daughter. My mother's 9 years older than him. He helped her raise my brother Junior and my sister Tony. When my mother became pregnant with me, she decided to go to El Salvador and bring my oldest brother to the United States so he could live with us. Randall, my dad has been an alcoholic forever, long before I was even thought of. My mom says he started drinking when his parents refused to let him join the military. They wanted him to work in the sugarcane fields and help the family. I don't know the whole story because I never asked him. He doesn't talk much and mostly talks to my mother. When my dad drinks, everyone around him becomes an enemy, a target for verbal abuse. If you didn't know him, you would be scared, but we knew he wasn't really capable of doing shit. We knew even though he was chasing my mother around the house with a knife, he wouldn't stab her. He enjoyed scaring her and showing his machismo in the house because no one in the real world respected his drunk ass. Sometimes when he got out of line and broke things, my mom would hit him, and my brothers too. This type of chaos was normal. One day, my mom threw bleach in his eyes because he was cursing and banging on the door trying to come in. One of the neighbors called the cops on her because my dad was knocking on everybody's door asking for water to clean his eyes. When the police came and questioned my mom, they ended up taking both of them to the precinct. She would not admit to nothing and told the police he slipped and fell while she was mopping the kitchen floor. Eventually, they let my mom go because they got tired of her praying out loud, saying, Dios mío, son 20 años. 20 años. The cops in the precinct knew our family well. They knew my dad was a drunk. They knew my mom was screaming truth. 20 years she had been dealing with my dad and supporting him. How dare they try to arrest her for defending herself? They let her go and made him spend the night in the cell. My mom never threw bleach in his eyes again. There were times my dad would get so drunk, she would not let him in and he would fall asleep in the hallway. So I would sneak him in or get a blanket and a pillow and lay with him on the steps. This would bother my mother to see me out there with him. So she would let him in. All this time, my dad still did not work, and when he did find a job, it never lasted. He always got fired because he would get drunk and couldn't work the next day. He often made money selling coquitos, you know those 50-cent ices that are coconut and cherry flavored? He sold piraguas with a big block of ice. I think Americans call them snow cones. My father sold those for years until I didn't want him selling them anymore because I was embarrassed. I was 12 and this is when life really began to change. I mean, my dad would insult my siblings, but never me. Elle was always the exception. Randall, the first time he flipped and hit me, it was right in front of my building, in front of everybody. Can you believe I hit him back? I was so ashamed and felt so guilty I wanted to go to sleep for a long time. That day I was home alone. Mommy was at work. And I said, fuck it, and started popping pills she had for depression and a bunch of other medications she had lying around. I chased the pills with Bacardi my dad had stashed in my closet from one of his trips to Puerto Rico. This man would hide liquor in my closet to prevent my mom from throwing it away. Long story short, I stayed in a coma for days. And all my mom kept asking the doctors was, is she still a virgin? And I was. When I woke up, all I remember is my mom crying and telling me, no puedes decir la verdad because te mandan pa' home, eso es lo que tú quieres. Couldn't tell the doctors the truth because they would take me away, put me in a home, then welfare would stop helping her. And it wasn't fair because my father didn't help and she needed help from the welfare for food and rent. She told me what to say to the psychiatrist so they wouldn't take me away. I went to therapy for a couple of years and every session was a lie. I never got the help I needed. After that, I didn't talk to my father for a year. When I did start back, it wasn't by choice, more like obligation. They had a fight, my mother stabbed him. I needed to take him to the hospital and make sure he didn't say she did it. We made up a story and told the authorities he was robbed. I was about 13 or 14 years old when I started working in a clothing store on Fordham Road. I didn't want my father washing cars and selling shit to take care of me, so I got a job. I tried to hustle crack, but that got boring quick. Being on Fordham exposed me to life quickly. Everything moved fast over there. I wasn't used to it, but I learned. See, all the girls who worked on Fordham were pretty and used men to get whatever they wanted. It was there I learned how easy it was to manipulate men. Put it this way, at this point in my life, my sexual encounters with men weren't for love. They were because I knew I could get something out of them. I couldn't love, I didn't know how. Every week I gave my mom money, even though I only worked part-time and made $5 an hour. I did other things on the side though, like transporting drugs on the Greyhound and trains. Transporting was like a side job for me. This is how I was really able to help my mom and dress myself. Having sex with older men was just another hustle. Of course, there were a couple of dudes I caught feelings for, but those feelings were never reciprocated. How could any man take a girl like me serious? I didn't even take myself serious. At 16, I slipped and got pregnant. I was too afraid to tell my mom and dad, so I had an abortion. Life was already twisted, but that shit put my emotions on overdrive. My grades suffered behind all those dirty little secrets I kept. Aside from weed, I started drinking heavy, taking mescalines, acid, looking for anything to numb what I was feeling. When I got offered a trip to Panama for 20 stacks, I jumped at that opportunity. I didn't care what I had to swallow. I looked at the opportunity as a quick come up. I had never been arrested, so if I got bagged, I would get probation anyway. This is when I caught my first fed case, transporting H from Panama. You would think I would have slowed down after that, but I got such a slap on the wrist, the system became a joke to me. Jail was a revolving door. I caught an assault charge for beating up a dope fiend. Then I caught another case for robbery. That's when reality hit me. When I had to do time in prison, when I did those 42 months, it was like a blessing in disguise. Because at the rate I was going, I could have ended up dead or with AIDS. The physical distance from my family brought us all together. We talked about everything and they came to visit faithfully. There were times my dad only had enough for subway tokens, but he would still come to Rikers to see me.
Dear L, we script our lives on reaction rather than action. Meaning daily life is always in response to a reply to a command on demand. The world uses us in that way. The after sound of oppression, we know this maxim. Yet we become willing participants in our own commodification. The world does this, holds us down. Then too, I've been thinking about the question you posed with regard to women and believing. Perhaps images in how we as a society nurture young women creates this insecurity. The American dream shows little girls in so much as not all of them will be able to live up to ideal beauty as constructed by benefactors of the dominant narrative, those who dictate the ebb and flow of how we live. You see, beauty is a dangerous thing. And understand brown and black women historically bear the weight of civilization in addition to their own weight, which at times can be daunting. But more than that, the male plays a role in this insecurity, especially in these so-called streets by his rejection of the woman as equal counterpart or anything other than sexual object. You see, we just want to love and have some warm body love us back. Objectification is a delicate balance. In other words, I saw this objectification play out with men who dominated women to the point they broke their spirits and stole their sound. The woman couldn't speak of their own oppression because they possessed no language to express the unimaginable. reminding me of pudding in the streetwalker sunshine. You see, sunshine adored pudding so much she strolled around Logan Circle in D.C. every night selling the one commodity she knew well, herself. Here's the oxymoron. Sunshine never saw the light. Darkness choked her to death. She never got to understand we are the shadows in the dark that Toni Morrison imagines. Our sound originates from the breaking of sound. And then again, like life, language is only the beginning, and perhaps in death too becomes a new beginning, a new language. Tonight I am imagining with exact description the 6x9 cell you sleep in all its isolation, because this is something memory lets me reinvent. The gray cinder block, the dull silver glow from the metal toilet. I've been thinking long and hard with regard to confinement and the bordering of color, and how we as a society imprison ourselves within the complexity of skin, as if human survival depends on this one specific thing. Of course, I can make a conscious effort to avoid color or not to invade your personal space, trying to make a parallelism, but history can be unforgiving in how the past reconstructs the future, whether we acknowledge it or not. For some reason, I feel our histories and futures intersect in so much as we come from the same memory. In other words, I have inhabited the cell door claim, and I can't escape the image of the pinstripe inmate constructed. There it is, that word, construct, or construction, which is another word for confinement on someone else's terms, a sort of deliberate scaffolding. You see, if I could go back to that initial moment after the formation of Earth, I'm talking about the first glorious sunrise after the Big Bang. Have you ever wondered what that feeling could have been like? In the beginning, a delayed oceanic swirl lacked blue, foliage lacked green. You see, color had not begun. If only someone could have stopped progress at that moment. Whenever I'm awakened from a nightmare induced by memory, it begins where moonlight ends. Slipping through the horizontal window wraps each iron bar of the prison you have become, a longer extension of the cell in which all humans are born, coming to screaming, scream, in the high shrill falsetto voice you never ever want, echoes, ripples, and bangs. The jangling keys, the slow drag boot heel, the black scuff marks. You can't see the guard, and the guard will not see juvenile Johnny curve over the bottom bunk like an elegant woman he is not. Stop, but no one will stop. Receding scenarios dug over and over and over and over. There are many unimaginables, and when I try to scream, there is no sound. So I gotta talk to myself to deconstruct myself, and maybe you and us too. For me, it is survival on so many levels. You see, Coltrane once said there's never any end. There are always new sounds to imagine, new feelings to get at, and always there's the need to keep purifying these feelings and sounds so that we can really see what we've discovered in its pure state. You see, I'm trying to get to a pure state, pure sound, a way of existing on this place we call Earth. I want to feel brand new all the time. Picture little Elle, black hair tangled, rubbing her marble eyes, trying to focus on blood trickling down her father's face, trying to understand domestic violence, and all little Elle knows is love. Again, silence is louder than all sound ever created. Consider how we strive for a truth or righteousness in our lives, and when we do find it, it's like we were duped. Red car ain't where the red car is supposed to be. Pea not under the middle walnut shell. It never is. Rabbit in the hat of rat. Thinking of a number between 1 and 10, it is always 25. We get pulled away that way, and for what? You see, I got caught up in your memories and found myself lying in the hospital bed, looking up at your mother through your marble eyes, hearing that faint echo, is she still a virgin? after you attempt to leave this place we call Earth. And L, I'm trying to break you free from the gizmos and wires. Wake up, I'm trying to pry open your lips so you can tell your mother, yes, I am pure. It's like being mute and the body electrocuted. I could be Baldwin in Sonny's, I could be Baldwin's in Sonny's Blues, banging on the piano loud, then really loud, trying to get someone to hear me, to really hear me, yet nothing. Your body violently shaking, and it's actually me trying to Lazarus you. Then from a tunnel you emerge just on the other side of the light that has been pulling you, only to discover darkness again. And you're fighting. Now, I always was and will be, moving through another tunnel, struggling toward a decibel, a sound, and it's your mother's soft Memoir.
I'm sorry, it always makes me cry.
I'm sorry.
Right. And so, if you haven't figured out right now, the memoirs, the epistles, these letters that go back and forth between me and Linda and I. And the memoir, a lot of the things is in flashback. And so they come to her in mail call. And so this is one of the pieces I'm gonna read. It's a piece that happened. It's called Only by the Grace, 1997. And I'll get right into it. I don't know, man. It's what it is. And so I've apologized enough. It's just what it is. The one caveat that came with being in power was that we could never shoot beats. If we ever did, someone would surely rob and murder us. Of this I was certain. So my initial thought at 11:45 on a weekday in the back room of a row house facing the old soldiers' home on 5th Street by the reservoir was this nigga gotta die tonight. I make the call to Foots from Bullethead's place while opening a magnum of cognac. In the front room there were drug dealers, con men, stick-up kids, and take-out artists salivating to revenge a wrong perpetrated on 5th and Whittier. 6 hours earlier, Foots had waltzed into our 4-bedroom house I shared with Craig, Craig's wife Donna, and my girl Beanie to buy 1/8 of a kilo. Craig and I had long been aware of Foots' life for us down south boys. For some unexplainable reason, he thought we were sexually involved with his wife Chocolate, whom he married upon release from Lorton prison. From our point of view, clearly he was tripping. Chocolate became the sister we never had. A woman who fit comfortably talking shit to men as much as she did women. We were down like 4 flat tires as we braved multiple wind-swept nights under the vertiginous glow of T Street lampposts, churning out plastic baggies full of crack 7 days a week, 365. The phone rang and Chocolate picked up. I swirled the rusted liquor around in a paper cup and asked for Foots. The backroom noise told me that Chocolate had an apartment full of streetwalkers who were tending to her every need in hopes of getting a chance to melt a white pebble in the corner of a metal crack stand. I'd been over to her house when she had a girl washing dishes, one vacuuming, one doing hair, and one bagging dope. She put those girls to work for that 5-minute rush. Hook, I heard crazy ass Pumpkin almost got you locked up last month. Bombshell told me Craig's old man was up from Miami with bricks. I hear you guys got it stacked, and that fool banging on the door. Mad because you won't give her a hit. Scared she might miss something. Heard she woke up the whole neighborhood. Threw a brick through your front door window. You know that bitch crazy, right? Right, I said. Pumpkin had almost gotten us locked up. 3 kilos in the house and her banging on the door, waking up the whole neighborhood. We had long parted ways since she had left me that fateful night in an abandoned car. But when I got back in the game, she found her way to Whittier one night and banged on the door until I opened it and gave her some coke. I wondered if Chocolate knew what was going on. Let me speak to Foots. I need to ask him something. The receiver went silent. Maybe she did know, but if she did, I couldn't tell. I swallowed the entire cup of liquor and let the taste crawl down my throat slowly, waiting for the burn to give me the edge. Yeah, what up, man? This me. The funny thing about Foots was that we were tight at one time. You see, I remember when he first came home from Lorton. To me, it was easy to tell when a dude was fresh out the joint. The face was clear, pristine, the body cut up like a bag of dope from all the pull-ups and push-ups. Foots' mistakes reside in this attempt to transform chocolate into something she could never be, a housewife. It was like he never heard the saying, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Now no one could accuse Chocolate of being a street hoe, but she was of the streets. Foots often called and talked about how he wanted Chocolate to stop doing hand-to-hand combat in the streets. You see, I learned a long time ago to stay out of grown folk business, so I always just listened while he ran his mouth. But something changed when he came home from that second stay in prison and started to hear how Craig and I had gotten tight with Chocolate while he was locked down. Then he started to understand the depth to which we were involved in this hustling game that he himself was trying to master. He found out that we weren't small-time hustlers trying to make $300 off an 8-ball. Someone had told him that I had the Bahamas hookup and Craig was running bricks from Miami. See, I think he got jealous and our relationship deteriorated.